title these ones Law Basics. This is Law Basics. Now, in order to start this off, I do kind of want to explain a couple things. First, we really began this class talking about our democracy, our republic, and how we use that system of government to put laws together, to put them on the books. What this is really going to be is just what these laws are based on, how they come about being, because this is going to really set up what we're going to be talking about the next couple of days here as we get to the specifics, or I guess you could say the very foundation, the basic ideas of criminal versus civil law, our two systems that we have. Now, we're going to cross that bridge a little bit later. What we need to do today first is we're going to talk about how within our system, we have it set up that laws are the basic foundation of how our society interacts. Our society is based on the idea that we can, in fact, all live together if we agree on some rules. But we have to make these rules. We have to create the law. So I want to ask you real fast, which branch of government is in charge of creating the law? Who writes it out? Legislature makes it. But a law is just a piece of paper, unless you have someone to enforce it, to put it into action. So I want you to think back. Remember, which branch of government is in charge of putting it into action? Who enforces it? One more start. I heard, what was it? The executive puts it into action. Now, I was kind of hoping to have a little more time to explain, to talk about what your texting and driving law will be, but I got to hurry a little bit. I want to ask you guys, your texting and driving laws. My teenagers, you guys would never text and drive, right? Yeah, you bunch of liars. All right. It's okay. I would never. Good for you. Then I'll go ahead and confess. I'm sorry. I text sometimes when I'm driving. Okay, good. Here's the thing. Do you think texting and driving is a big deal? Yes? Alex, why do you say yes?
Because just a little mistake on the screen cause an accident.
Sure. I mean, it can be dangerous. It can be incredibly dangerous, right?
Yeah.
Odds are you going to cause an accident if you're texting and driving?
Yes.
Yeah, probably not. But at the same time, it's a nice little window into enforcement, into our society. Should it be illegal? Yeah, probably, because it can be really dangerous. Now, let me say this. Has anyone ever gotten a ticket for texting and driving? I'm not surprised. It's really hard to enforce. I would say next to impossible. I have a friend who's a lawyer. She told me this story. She got pulled over for texting and driving. My first question was, how? How did that happen? And she told me, like step by step, she says the cop came up to her window, looked at her and said, here's the deal. I saw you texting. And her response was, I don't know what you're talking about. Here's the cop. Again, he goes, look, I saw it with my own eyes. I saw like the light on your face. I know you were doing it. And she said, I'm not going to help you convict me. If you want to get a warrant for my phone, I'll give it to you. But until then, I'm not telling you anything. Now, she's well within her rights. She was very clever because the cop said to her, please just don't text and drive and let her go. So let's kind of talk. Is that pretty hard to enforce? It's all but impossible. He had it. He caught her. And still, he was like, I can't do anything. I'm not going to get a warrant for this. It's really tough to do. If you're going to have a law, you better be able to enforce it. Now, I say this because Congress can make all the laws they want. They can write them all out. But if you can't enforce it, it doesn't matter. Our laws are put on the books for a reason. They're designed to protect society. In theory, we have something that is afflicting society, and we make a law to correct it. If we're going to correct that flaw, everyone must adhere to the same laws. Rule of law is paramount for society to function then. If you have one set of laws for this group of people and another set for another, you have a problem within your society. You have something that's going to break. We have this saying that no one is above the law. Because we have lived in a society where someone was above the law. When we were the colonies, there was absolutely someone who was above the law. Do you remember kind of that example that I gave you guys? Who was above the law? Who didn't have to adhere to any of them? The king. King George III could literally do whatever he wanted. There were no laws to restrict him. When we rebel against that king and create our new society, we say no one is above the law. Now, this is kind of the basis for where we're going to go next. Now, the thing about it is, when we're talking about laws being the basis of society, there's a reason as to why. You can look at a society's laws and see what they value. Now, our texting and driving law is going to be a little window into this. We can see what our society values because of those laws that we pass. We have it on the books right now. You should not be texting and driving because it's potentially very dangerous. Now, I need to ask, how long do you think that law has been in place? Take a shot. When do you think it was passed?
After the phone came out, isn't that date?
We were actually a little bit late to this. Colorado's texting and driving law didn't go into effect until 2013. We've only had it for a few years. Why do you think we waited until 2013 to pass that law? What do you think? Audrey, what do you think?
I think more and more people started getting killed in accidents. They had to wait to see the effect of it.
You are absolutely right. We got to a point where society said, we need to do something to stop this. We got to try to stop this. We're going to pass a law in an attempt to try to fix it. Now again, it has to be enforceable. So how do you think passing this law has changed the numbers of people that are hurt or even killed in a distracted driving incident? Not by much. We need a different way to try to, in fact, bring that down. Because if it's a scourge on society, you can pass all the laws you want. It doesn't necessarily mean it's going to fix anything. It has to be enforceable. Now, we have our laws in place because we basically say, we are passing the laws because I can determine that this is the course of action you should take. That this is right and this is wrong. But we kind of take we take that big idea and we really break it down into 4 big pillars. 4 big areas where our laws are passed. They're going to be based on, first, our moral values. Now, when I'm talking about moral values, I mean we have laws that we can basically say, as a society, this thing is morally unacceptable. Now, I use, again, the shipwrecked sailors for an example here, because can we all agree that murdering your shipmate and eating him is bad? Okay. I had someone in the other class be like, well, maybe. No, not dealing with that. Here's the thing. We can agree in our society that murder and cannibalism is bad. A fundamental issue where we simply say, yes, across the board, everyone can agree that that's wrong. Now, yes, the shipwrecked sailors do bring about kind of a gray area, where you say, well, they did it because they were in this horrific circumstance where someone had to die for the rest of them to live. Now, that's just kind of a little scenario that I used to start this because, yeah, we can sort of have a little bit of a gray area, but otherwise we can all say, yes, these things are bad. Now I gotta ask, Do we have laws on the books that make murder illegal? Do people still do it? This is where we have, this is why we have these laws, so that we can punish those who break those laws. Now, the second thing is going to be economics. Now, we have some economic values that are specific to our society. So I want to give you just a few examples here, and I need to kind of explain. First off, we have laws in place about accumulating wealth, getting money. Our laws are made up in such a way that there's a right way to make money and there are wrong ways, and the laws are going to explain that. If you work hard, you go to work, if you get a paycheck, and you build your bank account, or whatever, this is the way that we want it to happen. If you accumulate wealth with one gigantic drug deal, it's frowned upon in our society. You're going to be arrested and you go to jail for that. We have laws for accumulation. Now, we also have laws for preserving wealth. Now, I give this example because I think this actually is going to flow well. One example of preserving wealth is you can inherit money and property from someone who dies. If they die and they do everything right, you can get their money, you can get their property, and it's all perfectly legal. If there are other ways to preserve wealth within, like your family will say, there can be some illegal ways to do it. We have laws in place to say this is right and this is wrong. Now, last one is distribution of wealth. I want to just use this example. Let's just say tomorrow the communists come to America and take over. One of the first things they do is take all the wealth and then redistribute it evenly. Now, that's not our society. The way we distribute wealth is you go earn it. If you're Jeff Bezos and you go out and earn, whatever it is, like $25 billion, whatever he has now, as long as you do it legally, that's acceptable. These are what our laws are based on. Now, real fast, I do want to talk about political values as well. There's an underlying theme about our political laws. And it comes with really the relationship between the government and individuals. Now, I want to use this one example because I think, again, this does a good job of explaining this idea. We have laws on the books right now in regards to how much money an individual can donate to a political campaign. We have laws that cap it at a certain amount. Now, let me kind of say this. Why do you think we have laws on the books right now that say you are only allowed to donate X amount to a particular candidate? What are we trying to stop from happening? What could happen if we didn't have that cap? Oh, good, I'm glad we did this then. What happens if you donate $1 million to a candidate? What do you think?
They're gonna listen to you.
Quinn, you're absolutely on the right track here. Are you saying that maybe that candidate might owe you a favor?
It's like practical.
That's a horrible word. It's campaign financing. It's totally different. No, I'm just kidding. You're absolutely right. You say, that candidate might owe you a favor. This would be real bad for our system if you can buy candidates. So we have political values as well. Now, last we're going to talk about our social values. We as a society can say, we basically all agree that we need these particular laws in place in order to help society, in order to help the greater numbers. The texting and driving law is one of those. We have a problem that could hurt our society. We need to do something to try to fix it. We put a law in place to hopefully stop that behavior from happening. My teenager says it still happens. Okay, good. Yes, you can lie to me now. Now here's the thing. If you have your texting and driving laws, I'm going to pick those up. I'll give you a grade for having those. Now also, we are all done with this, so you can go ahead and pack everything up. But I do just want to talk about a couple things before you go.